Hey there, traders. Welcome back for episode 54 from the stockbandit.tv. You know, I'm always glad that you made it. Now, before we begin, I just want to say thanks to those of you who are already on the email list. You know, it is considered a privilege here to get to keep you updated on new developments across the Stock Bandit network, and so that's something that we don't take lightly here. And of course, if you're not already on that list, then go ahead and add your email today. All right, so in working through the charts tonight for the premium video over at thestockbandit.com, one thing that struck me was something that I don't think I've ever covered in a video or in a blog post, and so it's about time that I go ahead and discuss this. I'm talking about trend lines and specifically finding pivot points for initiating trades. Now, if you've been trading for virtually any length of time, you know that whenever a trend line gets crossed, you know, it's usually technically significant, and you know, that's a meaningful event, and it's oftentimes, you know, a hint to go ahead and start taking some action, whether that means you initiate a new trade or maybe it means that you're jumping out of a trade that's now turning directions and starting to go the wrong way. Now, beyond that, you might also know that some trend lines are horizontal and some are tilted. You know, take a look at a stock like NSC. This one had a downtrend line right here not too long ago, and then following that, it had an uptrend line. And so, of course, you know, these tilted trend lines are often a little bit different than maybe a horizontal trend line that we see right now in the S&P 500 up here at the 875 level. Well, you know, what about in consolidation areas? Obviously, we make a big market move up like this, and then we start to spend a little bit of time moving sideways. A lot of individual stocks are starting to look that same way. So they're now starting to kind of consolidate and digest this big move up. They're attempting to do that. So, you know, some trend lines in consolidation areas are going to be horizontal and some are going to be tilted. And, you know, I've been asked about this before, so I wanted to go ahead and explain why I draw my trend lines certain ways. So let's take a look at two different stocks, and I'll kind of give you examples and show you what I mean. Now, up first is Ashland. This is ASH, and this is a stock that's obviously made a very large move recently, and I've drawn a horizontal trend line above the recent high. Now, in a setup like this, when I look at, you know, the past several days of price action, I'm taking note of this kind of big V-shaped move, and really that is something that comes into my decision. When I take a look at the last few days, I want to decide if it's sloppy and volatile or if it's instead very quiet and methodical. So in this case, it's been pretty shaky. You know, we've seen a lot of volatility in just the past week in this stock. And so for me, you know, I want to make sure that a new high is achieved. I want to draw a horizontal trend line so that once that's cleared, I know that price is now making a new high. And that's going to be my confirmation that this stock is back on the move. Anything beneath that trend line is just going to be noise that I'm going to ignore. Now, as we move to another setup here, I want to show you VMC. This is a stock that also has had a nice move up from its recent lows, but the pullback here over the past several days has been a little slower, a little bit more methodical, and you see I've drawn a descending trend line here, or a tilted trend line here along those highs. Now, you know, this one has not seen very shaky price action in the past few days. Instead, you know, this dip from the high that was set last week really has been pretty quiet, and it's been a very steady pullback. And so when that's the case, I'm going to draw a descending trend line because I know that a push back above that trend line to the upside is quite likely going to spark a move in this stock that's worth initiating a trade for, or at least worth taking that risk, and especially one when I feel like the pullback has been very methodical. That hints to me that price is now actually committing to a direction and possibly going to start making a continuation move back up. So whenever that's the case, I don't require a new high to be made before I'll enter that trade. I'll just wait for a break of that trend line. So, you know, as you start to eyeball consolidation patterns and you're looking at bases that are being built, especially right now. Again, so many stocks out there are starting to kind of move sideways here along with the overall market. Be sure to gauge the price action when you're trying to decide what kind of trend line to draw. It just might make the difference between a mediocre trade and a great trade. All right, so thanks again for joining me. I will be back soon with more videos, but in the meantime, trade like a bandit.